Hello, and welcome back to Chi Chi and Bongo's Cruise Adventures. I'm Bongo.
And I'm Chi Chi. In part 2, we are boarding Liberty of the Seas at Cape Liberty in Bayonne, New Jersey for 9 nights around New England and Canada.
We visit Boston, Portland in Maine, Sydney and Halifax in Nova Scotia, then St. John and St. Martin's in New Brunswick, before one final day in Philadelphia.
This is a proper cruise vlog. The ship, our cabin, the food, the prices, port history, practical tips, and our honest opinion.
If that sounds like your sort of adventure, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. It really helps our little channel.
We did not originally film this holiday as a vlog, so some sections use our photographs, maps, and information cards to tell the story.
Part 1 covers our flight, Newark, the MPC and ESTA apps, the Holafly eSIM and Manhattan. So watch that first if you want the complete journey.
We will share what things cost, what we would book again, and the tips we wish we had known before sailing.
Liberty of the Seas was our September 2024 home at sea, a Freedom-class ship of more than 154,000 gross tons, sailing from Cape Liberty in Bayonne, New Jersey.
She has 15 decks, room for nearly 3,800 guests and around 1,360 crew, so she is less a boat and more a small town with better sea views.
An Uber from our Bayonne stay made embarkation easy. A comparable 9-night 2026 sailing from Cape Liberty on Independence of the Seas was listed at $2,685 for 2 in an inside cabin, about £2,015 with taxes and fees included. Daily gratuities, travel and excursions are extra.
Watching Manhattan fall behind us was one of those moments when you stop talking and simply take it in.
Then Liberty passed beneath the Verrazzano Narrows Bridge, New York behind us, and the Atlantic opening ahead.
We normally choose an interior cabin. Some people could never cruise without a balcony, but we spend very little time in the room.
We would rather save the money for experiences. Besides, after a full day exploring, I could definitely sleep in a cupboard if the pillow was decent.
The Sea Pass card made life on board simple, and the Royal Promenade quickly became our main route to food, shops, music, and everything else.
I called those promenade laps exercise. Chi Chi correctly identified them as walking to the next meal.
Most food was included: the main dining room, Windjammer, Sorrento's and Cafe Promenade. For 2 people over 9 nights, the 2026 soda package works out at roughly $212 to $382, about $160 to £287, including the 18% gratuity.
The Redcoats are coming.
Boston was our first port, and history arrived before breakfast. Founded in 1630, the city became a centre of resistance and played a defining role in the American Revolution.
Our map begins at the cruise terminal. We travelled independently, taking a local bus and then Boston's Red Line out towards Harvard.
Harvard dates from 1636, making it the oldest institution of higher education in the United States. John Harvard was an early benefactor, not actually its founder.
Back in the city, our walking route took us through Boston Common and into the historic streets around the Freedom Trail. It made the whole revolutionary story feel real.
The Red Line carried us out to Harvard. And yes, we bought the shirt. Apparently, a guided tour also qualifies as higher education by retail. Harvard Square also gave us a proper Italian detour. Cannoli from Mike's Pastry, a Boston institution famous for them.
They were amazing. Crisp shells, sweet ricotta, no sharing. In 2026, most cost $10, about £7.50. The Florentine is $12, roughly £9. We explored Harvard Yard and heard stories we would never have discovered on our own. It was one of the most interesting parts of the day. Widener Library also carries a Titanic connection. It commemorates Harry Elkins Widener, a Harvard graduate and passionate book collector who died in the disaster.
The famous John Harvard statue is sometimes called the Statue of Three Lies. The inscription gets his role, the founding date, and even the face wrong. From Harvard, we returned to central Boston and followed the history through streets that helped shape the American Revolution.
Boston is the sort of city where you could happily spend several days. A cruise visit only gives you a taste, but it certainly tells you whether you want to return.
Paul Revere's midnight ride warned that British forces were moving from Boston towards Lexington. The alarm spread far beyond one rider, but his name became the legend.
The Freedom Trail links many of these places with a red line through the city. It is free to follow, although our feet later submitted a formal complaint.
By the time we reached Quincy Market and the Union Oyster House, American history had worked up a very British appetite.
The Union Oyster House opened in 1826 and is recognised as America's oldest continuously operating restaurant. We had sensibly booked before leaving home.
Its unusual claim to fame is that the toothpick was first promoted in the United States here. A tiny invention with surprisingly effective marketing.
Quincy Market was busy, colourful, and absolutely packed with food choices. It felt like modern Boston wrapped inside historic walls.
We also found Cheers, the television landmark where everybody knows your name. Nobody knew ours, but we gave them time.
After Boston came Portland, Maine, a working harbour, historic brick streets, independent shops, and a completely different pace.
We booked the sightseeing trolley through Get Your Guide. Our driver was entertaining and informative, and we rated the experience 5 stars.
It was an easy way to understand the city and coastline without spending the whole day studying a map upside down.
The route linked the old port with Portland Head Light, commissioned by George Washington and first lit in 1791.
Maine's rocky shoreline, blue water, and lighthouse views were exactly what we had hoped for. It felt scenic without feeling staged.
The trolley also gave us the stories behind the view, which is the difference between seeing a place and actually understanding it. The current Get Your Guide listing starts at $56 per person, roughly £42 for the full 2-hour trolley tour. Prices vary by date.
From the working waterfront, the route carried us through Portland's brick streets, small lanes and handsome old buildings. It felt historic, but still like a real city.
Even the fire station looked ready for a postcard. The trolley made it easy to notice the details without me pretending I knew where we were going.
Portland Head Light stands at the entrance to the main shipping channel into Portland Harbour, with Fort Williams Park spreading around it.
It has watched over this coast for more than 2 centuries. The Atlantic has supplied the drama. The lighthouse has supplied the calm.
The open-sided trolley gave us clear views of the monuments, grand houses and coastline, while our driver guide brought each stop to life.
That is why we gave it 5 stars. Relaxed, informative, and no wrestling with maps or parking. I call that premium sightseeing.
And we still had time for one more lighthouse photograph before returning to the old port. Back in Portland, the old port mixed cobbled streets, 19th century brick buildings and a harbour that is still very much at work.
This was not simply a polished tourist waterfront. Fishing, ferries and everyday harbour life remained part of the view.
We also met a lovely American couple on the trolley and later joined them for lunch at Becky's Diner. New acquaintances became one of our favourite memories of Portland.
Becky's had the proper diner atmosphere. Busy, friendly and completely unpretentious. Chi Chi and Bongo's verdict was 5 gold stars for the food.
That is something we love about travelling. The landmarks are wonderful, but an unexpected conversation can become just as memorable.
By late afternoon, we had lighthouse photographs, coastal views, full stomachs and 2 new friends. That is a fairly successful port day.
Portland was a lovely final American stop before our sea day and the Canadian part of the cruise.
It also proved Chi Chi's point about cruising. You explore all day, return to the ship, unpack absolutely nothing and wake up somewhere new.
Anybody who knows how much I pack will understand why that is a major advantage.
The suitcase needed its own muster station.
A sea day gave us time to enjoy liberty itself, starting with the main dining room and the excellent team looking after us.
The room was elegant, but the service made it memorable. A huge ship can feel anonymous. These staff made it feel welcoming.
They were friendly, professional, and always seemed to have a smile. Those small conversations really do change the feeling of a cruise.
One of our biggest cruise tips is to check the daily gratuity on your SeaPass account. In 2026, the standard rate is $18.50 per guest per day, $333, about £250 for 2 over 9 nights.
Royal Caribbean says the daily charge is discretionary and can be adjusted at guest services before disembarkation. We chose to remove ours and tip directly our cabin steward, the dining team who served us each night, and the bar staff who kept the drinks flowing. It is entirely your choice. Our advice is simply to reward the people who made a difference.
Drinks on deck, good company and no driving home. It is a difficult lifestyle, but we accepted the responsibility.
Windjammer offered plenty of choice. Johnny Rockets brought classic diner fun, and Chops Grille gave us our speciality dining evening.
For a 2026 guide, Chop's lunch is about $44 for two, roughly £33. Chef's table is about $190 for two, around £143. Prices and service charges vary by sailing, but both make useful budget markers.
The ice show was another reminder that cruise ships operate by completely different rules: dinner, theatre and an ice rink in the middle of the Atlantic.
Mini golf provided sea air and conclusive evidence that my sporting career remains safely out of reach.
That is what we enjoy about Royal Caribbean. It is lively, varied, and there is always something to do, but you can still slow down whenever you want.
Our first Canadian port was Sydney, Nova Scotia, on Cape Breton Island, smaller and quieter than Boston, with its own welcoming character.
We explored independently on foot, which meant no timetable apart from getting back before Liberty sailed without us.
The waterfront's giant fiddle celebrates Cape Breton's Celtic music tradition and is promoted as the world's largest fiddle.
It made a brilliant welcome landmark, although even I resisted trying to fit it into the suitcase.
Sydney grew from coal and steel, but today's waterfront and colourful centre tell a friendlier visitor story. Sydney was easy to explore on foot. From the cruise terminal, we followed the waterfront into town, with Liberty of the Seas still visible behind us.
The streets were quiet and welcoming, with colourful shops, older buildings, and time to notice the details instead of rushing.
We wandered into one of the historic churches, where the harbour noise disappeared completely. Sydney had a gentle pace that suited us perfectly.
The local architecture and harbour views gave Sydney an easy, unhurried atmosphere. It felt welcoming rather than overwhelming.
Chi Chi also found the enormous red chair and conducted a full seating inspection. The chair passed. Getting back out was a separate test.
We wandered through town, stopped for our long-awaited Tim Hortons coffee, and enjoyed simply exploring at our own pace.
For a British visitor, a proper Tim Hortons can feel strangely important. It is coffee, not a diplomatic mission, but only just. Then we reached Island Folk Cider House, where a quick look became roughly an hour of tasting and conversation.
It was relaxed, local, and great fun. The tasting added another side to Cape Breton beyond the waterfront views. Then it was time to walk back to Liberty for sail away, with a final look at the town and that giant fiddle. Halifax brought another change of scale, a harbour city with deep maritime history and a ship excursion taking us out to Peggy's Cove.
The route followed Nova Scotia's rocky coast towards one of Canada's most recognisable lighthouse communities.
Peggy's Cove looked every bit as dramatic as we had hoped. Granite, working boats, weathered buildings, and Atlantic water in every direction.
The present lighthouse dates from 1915. Visitors must stay off wet, dark rocks because sudden waves can be powerful and dangerous.
It is a famous photograph stop, but the harbour is still a living community. The ropes, boats, and working buildings mattered as much as the postcard view.
Our excursion combined the best known view with the details around it: working harbour, lighthouse, and a coastline shaped by weather.
You could feel why people remember this place. It was exposed, beautiful, and completely different from every city stop on the itinerary.
The white granite is the safe walking surface. The darker rock can be wet and waves have taken visitors by surprise.
We took our time, enjoyed the view, and came away with photographs that still take us straight back to the Atlantic coast.
Beyond the lighthouse, Peggy's Cove is still a working fishing village with weathered timber buildings, small inlets, and boats tucked between the rocks.
We wandered slowly around the harbour side, and every corner looked like another postcard. Bongo was already choosing which little house we should buy.
I was only checking the sea view. The practical matters, winter, heating, and an ocean between us and home, were apparently for later. Back in Halifax, the day changed completely when we visited Fairview Lawn Cemetery.
While reading the names, we discovered a distant family connection I had never known about. We contacted family back in the United Kingdom, and they confirmed the connection. That made our later visit to Belfast deeply personal, seeing Harland and Wolff's former offices, Titanic's launch slipway, and the museum beside it.
On the return journey, we stopped at Acadian Maple Products and brought home maple syrup and maple coffee, continuing our habit of collecting coffee wherever we travel.
Halifax also gave us the peaceful public gardens and the citadel, layers of military and civic history above the modern waterfront.
It was the most unexpectedly emotional day of the cruise. Spectacular coast, serious history, and a family story we had not known we were coming to find.
That is why travel can be so powerful. Sometimes the place you visit does more than impress you, it changes how you understand your own story.
Our final Canadian port was St. John in New Brunswick, followed by a coach journey to St. Martin's and the Bay of Fundy. From the city, our coach followed the road towards St. Martin's, a coastal village known for covered bridges, red cliffs, and extraordinary tides.
At low tide, boats can sit on the harbour floor and visitors can walk where the sea will later return.
That is the Bay of Fundy at work, moving a vast amount of water in and out of the bay every day.
We walked down onto the exposed seabed, which felt slightly rebellious even though the tide table had given us permission. St. John had a historic feel, but also a busy local life, especially around the waterfront and city market.
St. John City Market opened in 1876 and survived the Great Fire the following year. It remains Canada's oldest continuously operating farmers' market.
The market was colourful, lively and full of local character, another reminder that the best port visits include ordinary life as well as landmarks.
The covered bridges are among St. Martin's best-known sights, with timber structures framing the road and river like scenes from another era.
We even went looking for bears. We found scenery, fresh air and no bears, which was probably the most convenient result.
St. Martin's combined bridges, caves, cliffs and a harbour transformed by the tide. It was a strong finale to our Canadian ports.
Every destination on this itinerary felt different. That variety was one of the best things about the cruise.
And each evening we returned to the same room, the same ship and a suitcase that remained heroically unpacked.
Further along the coast, red sandstone cliffs and sea caves appeared at low tide. Timing really matters here because the sea does not negotiate.
The area forms part of Stonehammer UNESCO Global Geopark, preserving almost 1 billion years of geological history.
That is cruising for us. Explore somewhere new, come home to the ship, eat well and wake up ready to begin again.
No repeated hotel check-ins, no daily packing and no argument about whether I remembered the charger. Almost perfect.
Coming up here on the driver's side, up on the rise, is the...
One final sea day gave us time to enjoy Liberty before returning to New Jersey.
The ship had kept us busy from morning until night, but the crew remained the part we remembered most warmly.
The food was excellent, the atmosphere was lively, and we would happily sail on Liberty again.
Back at Cape Liberty, most sensible people would head for the airport. I had other plans, one final day in Philadelphia.
Bongo had visited before and wanted to show me why the city had stayed with him. We collected a hire car and received a rather large surprise.
The smaller car had not been returned, so the only vehicle available was a big white 4x4. Subtle it was not, but luggage space was no longer a concern.
We drove into Philadelphia, parked and combined walking with the occasional Uber to make the most of our limited time.
Philadelphia was central to American independence. The Declaration was adopted here in 1776, followed by the Constitution in 1787.
Historic buildings sit beside Chinatown, markets, modern streets and public art. It feels like several versions of America sharing one city.
I'm also a big film fan, so Philadelphia had 2 extra names on my list: Trading Places and Rocky.
History for me, film locations for Bongo, and a cheesesteak for both of us. Marriage is largely about successful negotiations.
Independence Hall witnessed debates that helped create a new nation, while the Liberty Bell became a lasting symbol of freedom.
Then the city changed tone again, busy streets, colourful neighbourhoods, and the energy of modern Philadelphia.
Trading Places use Philadelphia as more than a background. The city's wealth, institutions and contrasts are part of the joke and the story.
At the Rocky Steps, Bongo considered running to the top. His niece submitted a written objection, so we walked.
The view was worth it, and so was the cheesesteak afterwards.
Then it was back to Newark Terminal B for our overnight flight home to Heathrow.
Follow us on Instagram at Chi Chi Bongo Adventures. Our new website is coming soon with cruise news, port guides, honest reviews, prices, practical tips and highlights from our past adventures.
Please tell us in the comments what you enjoyed and whether these detailed cruise guides help you plan your own adventures. This trip also reminded us that we were not as fit as we wanted to be. Since then, we have both worked hard, become healthier, and shared an amazing weight loss journey.
We married in April 2026, and this September, our official honeymoon takes us to China, Japan, and South Korea. Chi Chi did not know I added this card.
I do now. He is still allowed on the honeymoon.
Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. 2 hearts, 1 world, endless adventures.